How do you vaccinate the entire world?
We can't look back in the 20th century or earlier and expect the events that played themselves out then are what we have in store for the next 75 years. And when we think about One Health, the single most significant difference between the 21st century and any other point in time that we've lived is population pressure.
To me, the question, it doesn't even seem like it can be a question, because the trend of industrial civilization, what's coming in the future, is obvious. It's just more of what has happened up to this point. It's just worse. It's just everything accelerating, everything getting worse.
One objection that people have when we talk about dismantling civilization is a moral objection. How is it moral to advocate for something that will ultimately lead to many human deaths?
How do you vaccinate the entire world?
So that ethical question, I mean, it's so important that we all grapple with this. And I think sometimes people have the idea that revolutionaries or people who have these radical political ideas don't think them through, don't second guess themselves, but I second guess myself all the time. One of the stories I've heard from the far north is about people living there in the old times, and in the winter, you know, life would be hard. There wouldn't be much food. All the sea ice was frozen. All the birds and a lot of the wildlife had gone south for the summer, and there would be starvation some years. And what happened when there was starvation is that some of the elders, the older people in the society, would simply walk out onto the ice, and they would choose to leave their communities and their families behind, and they would go out and they would die.
If we were in this room, or wherever this room would have been 100 years ago, if we were in Washington, D.C. 100 years ago, 1 year before the 1919 pandemic, there are 1.6 billion people on the planet Earth. Think about it. As a species, we emerged somewhere around 200,000 years ago. It took us 200,000 years to hit that first billion mark. 100 years later, we're at 7.6 billion. In 1 century, we've added 6 billion people. By the time we get to the end of this century, there'll be 11.5 billion people. You can't have that kind of increase in population, the increase in footprint from this species, without really recognizing there are enormous consequences.
Most of my immediate family lives all across the country, and when civilization collapses, I will never see my mother again. I will never see my father again. I'll never see my sister again. But right now, civilization is causing the extinction of 200 species a day.
Health is a huge, huge area, and especially in the context of global environmental change, there's so much going on. You know, we have air pollution, we have pandemics and pandemic threats. Like there was so much reaction to Ebola and so much fear, but there are so many environmentally linked diseases that
no example I can think of where 8 billion people will actually want a dose of this vaccine.
When I think about bringing down this civilization, to me, that's what comes into my mind, is that level of sacrifice. Because, you know, we're living in hard times right now, but it's nothing compared to what's coming if major changes aren't made. And so to me, the question is not just what is the most ethical decision right now for us in this moment selfishly, but what is the most ethical decision for future generations, for people living 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 500 years from now.
My own individual comfort, my own individual life, my own ability to see my family, and even my own ability to survive are not more important than the natural world's ability to continue. It's not more important than whole species' rights to go on existing.
Fundamentally a one health approach. Human health cannot be separated from the events that are occurring in the ecosystem around us. Think about SARS, think about H1N1, think about Ebola, think about Zika.